40-minute video, and also because it's kind of different. The subject's a little different, but I will go ahead and tack on the next thing when he talks about the impact that philosophy should have on a person. Should is the key word when we go into the next section. The power of philosophy is such that she helps not only those who devote themselves to her, her being philosophy. He personifies, he's not the first one to do this. Greek mythology, I think, and Romans inherited Greek mythology, would have personified Sophia as, that's what the word philosophy means. I've probably said that before. Philosophy means love. Sophia, love of wisdom, philosophy. So Sophia is a woman. So the power of philosophy is such that she helps not only those who devote themselves to her, but also those who come into contact with her. So then he talks about how if you're in the sun for a while, you'll acquire tan because you've been in the sun. Customers that are in a shop selling perfumes will walk away smelling like the perfume because they've been in the shop. So, and he also says even if you're inattentive, not hostile, but inattentive. He says, note that I say inattentive, not the hostile. And this is something that is definitely true. I mentioned this in a previous video. There's a Bible verse that talks about how you want to surround yourself with godly people. Because their character will kind of rub off on you. And there's also like, what it really says is the opposite. It says is this a Bible verse or an old proverb? Bad company corrupts good morals, something like that. I don't remember exactly now what it was. That does sound like something Solomon would say. And then he also talks about people that are hypocrites. There's a section in here that just almost sounds like Socrates talking about the sophists. That said, it's been almost 20 years since I've read Socrates, or read Plato, which is where we got the quotes from Socrates, I should say. And then there are people that, like, I think of, like, the verse that says, a man, well, I'll go ahead and read this, not read this, but there are people that listen to wisdom, and they understand it and they agree with it, but then it's just gone from their lives. They don't live by it. And even if you try to confront them about it, he doesn't say this, but even if you try to confront them about it, they'll try to find a way to rationalize their behavior, usually. And then there are also times when you yourself can live that way for a long time. Then it hits you and you realize that you've been living wrongly, and that can be kind of a jarring experience. I'm sure most people have experienced that at some point or another. But at any rate, he talks about people that are I'm trying to find the place. They're captivated by the captivated by the rhythm, I guess. Captivated by, I could think of actually a pretty decent example of this. I may have talked about this before. I think I have talked about this before in a previous video on Seneca. Whenever I would watch Doctor Who, I think I did. There's something about Doctor Who in particular that almost makes you admire the Doctor for what he does, and it makes you want to do things. And then I think, I want to be just like that guy, and then I just click next episode. So I'm not actually... I'm seeing the things that he's doing while I'm just sitting on my couch and doing nothing. And there's kind of some similarities to that. And he also, part of what the example says, haven't you noticed that in the theater, murmurs how the murmur is agreement whenever something is spoken, the truth of which we generally recognize and unanimously confirm. Okay, here's actually a good line. Your worst miser will clap. Okay, sorry. Let me back up. So here's a quote from, we think, Publilius Cyrus. Um, the greedy man does no one any good, but harms no person more than his own self. That's actually the second quote. But then Seneca comments on this and says, your worst miser will clap these lines and be delighted at hearing his own faults lashed in this manner. But then he continues to be a miser. And that makes me think of, actually, the Bible verse, I think it was James, that said, he who hears the word and is not a doer only, in other words, he does not apply it, is like a man who looks at himself intently in a mirror, and then as he leaves, immediately forgets what he saw. So yeah, that was a good letter. So that probably should have gone on to the next video because it's going to lead directly into the way philosophy should impact your life. So Seneca is, you might say, a little bit long-winded here. Continuing letter 108. Long-winded is not quite the right word, though. Long-winded kind of implies like being a windbag, not a gas bag. I think that means something else. A windbag, and that he's not really he's not a windbag. He's just very verbose. But at the end, he describes the point that he's getting at. It says, my advice is really this: what we hear the philosophers saying and what we find in their writings should be applied in our pursuit of the happy life. So in other words, whenever we hear philosophy, we should be applying it. We should hunt out the helpful pieces of teaching and the spirited and noble-minded sayings which are capable of immediate practical application, not far-fetched or archaic expressions or extravagant metaphors and figures of speech. And earlier, Seneca was talking about pointless syllogisms. And learn them so well that words become works. So that's good. Learn them so well that words become works. So, of course, that makes me think of David talking about, oh, crud, why can I not think of what the actual verse was? It ends with, that I might not sin against you. I hold your words in my heart, that I might not sin against you. But study it so intently that it becomes just your way of thinking, and then it becomes words. No one lets down in humanity so much as those who study philosophy as if it were a sort of commercial skill, and then to proceed to live in quite a different way. So, that's actually a little bit Seneca, from what I understand of his life. But, no one's perfect. But people prone to every fault they denounce are walking advertisements of the uselessness of their training. So yeah, that's just basically you need to be able to actually put these things that you learn into practice. So, like, back to James, the one who is a listener of the word, hearer of the word, and not a doer, you've wasted your time, wasted your energy.